Hey everyone, David Rishpan here again with you on YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk about arranging for large ensemble. It's a topic that I haven't talked about much here on this channel, but it has been a pretty significant part of my career over the past 20 years and even longer, going back to while I was in high school, actually. I'm in the middle of a project right now for a very non-standard instrumentation for large ensemble, and I thought it might be helpful to talk about my process and some of the ideas I've had in undertaking this work. If you enjoy the content on this channel, on the lessons I've been putting up, please click the like and subscribe buttons down below the video. It really helps the channel the more people drive attention to these videos, and I'm appreciative of all the support I've already gotten from you in the past year or so, and I hope for that to continue. So again, please click all those little buttons down below the video, and I have opened up a PayPal tip jar. The link will be in the description. I don't have affiliate links. I don't have courses to sell. The best way to financially support this channel is to leave a tip in PayPal or to buy my records on Bandcamp. All the links are down below. All right, let's dive in. So I'm currently working on a series of arrangements for the Eclectic Ensemble at Concordia University here in Montreal. It is a group that changes instrumentation every year. One constant of this group, however, is multiple guitars. This year, there are 4 guitar players in the group, and I've been arranging for this ensemble on and off for the past 15 years, and I think I've never had less than 3 guitars. The first year I wrote for the Eclectic Ensemble, I believe I had 5 guitars, including one person who played lap steel, banjo, and mandolin. That's a lot of guitars. So a question I have often received when I talk about arranging for the Eclectic Ensemble specifically is, what do you do with all those guitars? And I realized when I started working on this set of music that I come at it from 2 different angles. One way of thinking about it is thinking about everything that guitars can do. They can comp chords, or they can play lead lines. They can strum percussively and use dead notes or muted notes versus playing long melodies, using different effects pedals or different effects treatments to separate them sonically. Maybe one guitarist has a totally clean sound, one of them has more overdrive, and one of them has some kind of modulation like chorus or phaser or tremolo, just to separate them out sonically the way you might put 3 trumpets in 3 different mutes. The other way is thinking about it almost in the complete opposite fashion, not thinking about them as guitars at all, but thinking about them in the register that they occupy, in the frequency spectrum and the sonic register that they occupy, which is similar to trombone or tenor saxophone. So if I have a bunch of guitars but not enough horns, I can still kind of create a big band texture, and I just treat the guitars as though they were my trombone section. Go back and listen to the Quincy Jones productions of the 80s and listen to how his synth orchestration is really similar to how he wrote for horns in big bands in the 60s, in the 50s and 60s. And that's kind of how I approach arranging for guitar in this particular ensemble. Zooming out from the Eclectic Ensemble and these specific orchestrations, this specific set of instruments, there are other bigger organizing questions about arranging that I ask myself every time I write a new chart. And I ask myself these things before I write a single note of music, before I open Sibelius, before I open my notebook. And they're arranged in kind of the general categories of questions. Who? Who is this arrangement for? Is it for students or professionals? If it is for students, what is their level? Is it a high school band, a junior high band even, or college, university band? Is there another element? Is there something specific that I or the band director, the teacher of the class, teacher of the ensemble, want these students to get out of playing the arrangement? For example, do I want them to have a lot of traditional bebop language in the soli lines that they have to learn and get their ears and fingers around? Do I want them to experience different types of improvisation, how to improvise in a large ensemble that isn't just your standard soloist over background situation? If it's for a professional group, does that professional group have a certain identity to the ensemble that sets them apart? Is it something like uh, Maria Schneider's band or the Frankfurt Radio Orchestra, where the woodwind section doubles on flutes and clarinets and even possibly oboes? Are there extra players in the band? Is it 5 trumpets instead of 4? Is it 5 trombones? Is there a guest soloist? What? What is the repertoire that I'm arranging? Is it original compositions or is it standards? How common is the tune that I have been given to arrange or that I've chosen to arrange? And how far do I want to deconstruct that tune? Where? Where is this piece going to be performed? Is it going to be performed live at a concert? Is it in a recording session? Is it in a live concert that will be recorded? There are things you can do in studio recordings and using overdubs that are either impossible or don't work as well live. When? How long do I have to write this arrangement? How long does the band have to rehearse this arrangement? Is it being sight read like on a film session or a pop overdub session where the musicians are walking in, sight reading it, recording it, and leaving? Or is it for a university ensemble that rehearses every week or multiple times a week? Is it for a steady working band like the Vanguard Orchestra or the Maria Schneider Orchestra? In answering these questions, I've now set up parameters and guidelines within which I can make artistic decisions, but they've reined me in enough that I don't necessarily have option paralysis about everything I could possibly write or everything I could possibly do. I know who I'm writing for and what the kind of guiding principles of these arrangements will be. So for this semester with the Eclectic Ensemble, the theme this semester is the music of Benny Golson, and I have been tasked with arranging multiple songs. I'm currently working on the 4th arrangement out of 6 tunes. The full instrumentation is 6 vocalists, 3 sopranos and 3 altos, 4 guitars, like I said before, an alto saxophonist who also sings in the baritone register, a tenor saxophonist, and rhythm section. So if I'm thinking, like I said, purely about registers, I technically have the scope of a big band available to me, although vocalists don't have the same power or the same tonal characteristic as trumpets. And I also need to be aware of the fact, to think about the fact that vocalists executing close dissonant voicings is not as easy as it is writing 5-part sax harmony in very close, dense voicings. Vocalist can't just press a button and produce the note. In answering my own who, what, where, when, how questions that I outlined just before, I've also made the decision that I think it's important that these students get some of Benny Golson's vocabulary that he used as a performer and improviser as well as a composer. So I'm transcribing some elements of his solos as well as solos by his compatriots Lee Morgan, Clifford Brown, to use as background figures or interludes in my arrangements for this group. A big part of my process in arranging for the Eclectic Ensemble is listening to existing arrangements of these tunes. I know some arrangers don't do this because they don't want to be influenced. For me, I see it as research and I see it as a springboard for my own creativity to check out what's already been done and finding maybe interesting phrases or interesting ideas in other arrangements that then spur me to think of doing something else. For example, I came across Jerry Gonzalez's version of Along Came Betty with the Fort Apache Band, and he does it as a double time wawanko. And that gave me this idea of playing with the juxtaposition of double time and halftime swing, which is something I may not have come up with otherwise, or have discovered otherwise, because I know the original Art Blakey version of Along Came Betty so well that it would not have dawned upon me to juxtapose double time and halftime. Another really important element of my own personal process is that I very, very, very rarely write or arrange at the piano. This goes back to my first ever composition lesson with the great trumpeter and arranger and composer Mike Malone, who worked with the Dave McMurdo Orchestra, with the Rob McConnell Boss Brass. If you're Canadian, those names probably suggest something to you. If you're not Canadian, I would definitely, and if you are Canadian and you don't know who they are, I would definitely go back and check out Rob McConnell's writing and Mike Malone's writing as well. And Mike Malone said in the class that I took with him that our instruments can be a box, that there is the risk of only ever writing things we can play on our instrument, things that we can hear based on our technical facility on our instrument. So from an early age, I kind of got into this habit of writing away from the keyboard, away from the piano, and just writing what I really hear in my mind's ear. I still write a lot by hand, pencil and paper in notebooks. I do sometimes use Sibelius for playback, but it's pretty rare. I'll just use Sibelius as kind of a digital notepad, and I'll use Sibelius with the sound off, and I'll just write straight into Sibelius with the mouse and the computer keyboard. Another issue that comes up when we're arranging multiple pieces in a short span of time is that we run the risk of always doing the same thing, and just being very aware to not do the same thing, or at least attempt to not do the same thing. The drummer and composer John Hollenbeck, when I studied with him, really brought this to the forefront of my attention. And he does this with all of his students, to be aware of our habits, aware of the ways we tend to start tunes, write tunes, organize tunes, develop tunes, and just to very consciously break out of our reflexes and our habits. I'm on the fourth tune that I'm arranging for the Eclectic Ensemble right now, and I've gone back and looked at the other three. Who did I give solos to already? I don't want the piano player to solo in every tune just because I forgot that they had piano solos already. What structures have I used in organizing the development of the arrangement? Is everything head, solo, head? Does everything have crazy interludes? Is everything super deconstructed and there's no straight ahead tune in the book at all? Which both extremes of those things will get old if you don't have a balance of the two things. How can I treat the vocal section in different ways in each chart? How can I treat the guitar section in different ways in each chart, in ways that I haven't done yet across the 3 or 4 tunes? If you live in Montreal, this ensemble, the Eclectic Ensemble of Concordia University, will be performing at the end of April. I don't have the date exactly, but follow me here and on other social media platforms, and I will definitely post the exact date as soon as I have it. I hope this helps you in your arranging journey, whether it's arranging for a standard large ensemble, for your own non-standard large ensemble, for your production and your songwriting. Maybe this will kind of turn on a light bulb in your own creative process that you haven't thought about before. Again, if you enjoy content like this, please click all the little buttons below the video. My name's David Rishpan. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.